My buddy. Today I'm going to present you the top 5 PvP decks for Season 1 in Random Dice. So, right now I'm playing like a version of one of the decks. I'm going to show you later what deck I'm playing. I'm just playing one deck of this meta, the current meta. So, from each meta deck there's some different dice you can variate from, but yeah, it's your choice how to play it, what works best for you, what class your dices are, how much crit damage, what level is your battlefield, and so on. But for this ranking list I'm not going to do like, I'm going to order them from 1 to 5, but it doesn't mean that the first place deck can beat all the decks every time. It sometimes depends on the player how he's playing it. And I'm not going to say the fifth place deck is better than the fourth place deck is better than the fifth place deck. I'm just going to just going to present them, and you can do what you want with, well, test the decks if you want to play one of the metas. So the first deck I'm going to present is the Yin Yang. You see it already in the screen. And the Yang has actually changed. So the season thing changed the PvP quite a bit. Because before this season, Yin Yang wasn't playing without growth. But yeah, Yin Yang is not playing growth anymore. They used to play supplement anyway, but now they're playing something instead. So lots of players playing royal instead of growth, and that deck can be very, very dangerous. I'm not kidding. So yeah, I think I know why growth is bad, because when your opponent does royal to yourself, and then you have got a bunch of growths, you don't really want to merge them. So if your opponent does royal to you, now you just have supplement to merge everything, set your battlefield back together. Then you got some royals just to counter your opponent, whatever he's playing, to disturb them. You can play other dices instead of royal as well, but you don't play any of the growths. You have to play something else. If you don't have royal, you can play assassin or IX10, but I don't think they are that effective. Some players, I saw a player, he played sacrifice instead. He lost against me. If we look at the battle history, yeah, wait, this was co-op. Yeah, no, this is the normal. Yeah, the normal. If you play growth, it isn't that great. Okay, I don't have any better luck in there, but yeah. It's a very good deck. You don't need to play growth. So for players who are complaining you don't have growth, you can't uh, climb the PvP ranks, you can. There are actually 2 decks in this list that you don't need growth, and they are in the meta. You just need your crit damage get higher, and so on. Okay, let's continue with the next deck. So, the 3 decks without growth. So another deck. Well, for this deck I would say you need your bounty at higher class. If your bounty isn't at higher class, you don't gain as much SP as with players with the lower bounty rank. So this is the Hyper Sim, or how player call it. So this is just an extreme assassin deck. Also, if we go back to the other deck, lots of players play the Pantheon battlefield. Then you can play Fifth Voyage Log, you play Plasma Shield. Those are the battlefields I would say recommend playing with the how you call it, Yin Yang. Now with the Hypersm, you know already, you spam the assassins, you spam the bounty, you have your sacrifice there, you gain lots of SP, you destroy your opponent. But when your opponent plays sacrifice or bounty, or plays the Fifth Voyage Log, boy, you're most likely going to lose, because yeah, this deck doesn't bring lots of DPS. You're going to weaken your opponent. Sometimes they win when you're lucky, but sometimes you lose as well. And for this deck you have to play the Luminous Prison, because you want to trigger your assassin, you want to trigger your bounty. Yeah, if you play the Fifth Voyage Log, it isn't that great. It is okay, but I don't think it's going to destroy your opponent. Okay, now coming to the third place deck, I'm going to the other side, because, and yeah, so the third place I put Solar. So Solar, you got different variations. So this one you see with Crack Growth, some players play, instead of Crack Growth, they play Blizzard. It's your choice. It depends on what battlefield you play. If you play the Pantheon battlefield, then actually they don't play Crack Growth. My bad, not my bad. They play Sacrifice, not Crack Growth. This was the older version. This was the version what players played before the season. But they play Sacrifice just because of Hyperzim and the sacrifice, the royal decks out there. So Solar can be very strong at the beginning with sacrifices, and if you change few things, yeah, sacrifice might be there, and they will get to higher dots as fast as possible. And for this deck, the Crystal Rift is a very, very nice battlefield. But if you don't want to play the sacrifice and you say you're going to play the Blizzard, then you can switch to the Pantheon battlefield. Yeah, or the Plasma Shield, it's your choice. Now coming to the second place deck. This deck also another deck without growth. 3 out of 5 meta decks, you don't need growth. So some players said they had every dice except for growth. Now you have your choice, your chance to get higher in PvP ranks. So this deck is very, very strong. So it needs a little bit time at the beginning to build up the damage. So I would say if your combo is beneath class 9, I think it's going to be harder for you. I think when you have a class 9 it's okay, but if it's class 10 it's better. And the difference between Scope and Luna is that you don't need to activate your Scope, and you know the Scope makes the combo target multiple enemies, so the combo is going to be an AoE DPS combined with the Scope. And they play as Summoner instead of Sacrifice, because later on the Summoner is going to be more valuable than the Sacrifice or any bounty, because yeah, you summon more and the cost per dice is going to be higher, and the Summoner is just going to summon for you. Yeah, when you merge, of course. Yeah, so this deck is very strong, but not impossible to beat. When I play my deck, I beat this deck most of the time because I'm playing the flow dice, and I'm going to push the flow at the beginning, at the very beginning. So on the first place I have my deck. So for this deck, the battlefield, yeah, of course, it's going to be the Pantheon battlefield, but I played this deck and I played the 5th Voyage Log just to have more SP at the beginning. Can be effective as well. So your choice what battlefield you think is better. Okay, now coming to the last and the first place deck. It's the Flame Flow. So this deck still very, very strong. For this deck you need to play the Pantheon battlefield, but I'm playing another version of this deck. So instead of Flame, I play Typhoon. And for this deck, my version, you don't need to Pantheon battlefield, so any player can play it. Well, mirror matches I still win. The hardest matchup for my deck right now is Flame Royal, and sometimes Solar when they play the Plasma Shield. Else, Yin Yang I lose like, I would say 8 out of 10 I win, 2 out of 10 I lose. Yeah. Sometimes they can just be annoying when they have played the deck the right way. But if you play with growth, you're most likely not going to win. So yeah. So for my deck version, I play with the 5th Voyage Log. So I gain more SP to counter also Hyperzim. Yeah. And that's also the deck that brought me to Grand 2. I'm close to Grand 3. Yeah, because I don't like to play against Flame Flow Royal. That's also, yeah. For that, how to beat them, I need to get rid of the flame on the critical spot, then I can win, but that's not easy task to do. So those were the top 5 PvP decks for the season 1 in Random Dice. Anyway, that's the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.